The 42nd floor of Vanguard Logistics was a monument to glass and steel, but the air inside was thick with a toxic, suffocating tension. This was the North Wing, a division ruled by Quentin Vance, the regional director. Quentin was a man who lived for status. He was currently pacing the executive hallway, his bold red tie adjusted perfectly against his crisp white shirt. To Quentin, his employees weren't people. They were gears in a machine, and if a gear squeaked, he crushed it. Beside him stood Silas Thorne, his assistant and enforcer. Silas wore a bold red trim vest, always mirroring Quentin's aggressive style. Together, they had spent the morning berating the staff. Tobias, a junior clerk in a white shirt, kept his head down, his hands shaking as he typed. Verity, an accountant in a yellow blouse, stared at her monitor with red-rimmed eyes. They all knew that one wrong look toward Quentin could result in a public firing. The service elevator chimed, and Beatrix stepped out. She was dressed in a deep navy tracksuit with a plain white t-shirt and a simple cap pulled low over her eyes. She looked like a temporary worker hired to move boxes, which was exactly the disguise she needed. As the global CEO and founder of Vanguard, she had heard disturbing reports about the North Wing. She wasn't here to sign papers. She was here to see the unmasked reality of Quentin's management style. She walked slowly, observing the puddles of water forming on the marble floor from a burst pipe near the executive washrooms. No one had put up a safety sign. No one had even dared to call maintenance because Quentin had forbidden distractions during the morning rush. Quentin rounded the corner and saw Beatrix standing near the maintenance closet. His face instantly twisted into a realistic, unmasked expression of aggressive disgust. The agency said a scrubber would be here at 8 o'clock. It's 8:30, you lazy brat. Quentin roared, his voice echoing through the wing. I am not an agency, Beatrix replied, her voice remaining a calm, professional royal blue tone. She stepped back defensively as Quentin lunged toward her, invading her personal space until he was inches from her face. Don't lie to me, Quentin hissed, his teeth gritted in a snarl. He reached out with a violent, sudden motion and grabbed the collar of Beatrix's deep navy tracksuit. He twisted the fabric into his fist, jerking her forward so hard she nearly lost her footing. He physically dragged her toward the executive restroom door, the sound of her sneakers scuffing against the wet marble. He shoved her through the restroom door, forcing her into the clinical, white-tiled space. Silas was right behind him, carrying the tools of humiliation. Silas slammed a heavy green plastic bucket onto the floor with such force that blue sudsy water splashed across Beatrix's deep navy pants. Inside the bucket were several yellow sponges and a long white scrub brush. Quentin didn't release his grip on her collar. He dragged her by the arm toward a white porcelain toilet at the end of the row. With an aggressive, heavy-handed shove to her shoulder, he forced her down onto her knees on the cold tiles. Now, pick up that yellow sponge, Quentin commanded, his voice trembling with rage. He grabbed the white scrub brush and slammed it onto the top of the toilet tank, right next to her head. I want this bowl scrubbed until it's cleaner than your house. If I see a single speck of dirt when I come back, I'll personally drag you out of this building by your hair. Beatrix looked up from her defensive position on the floor, her hands gripping the yellow sponge Quentin had forced into her hand. She saw the witnesses, Tobias and Verity, standing in the doorway, their phones held high, capturing the raw aggression. Quentin, Beatrix said, her eyes turning a cold, sharp, deep navy. You just made the most expensive mistake of your life. You have exactly 10 minutes of power left. I suggest you spend them saying goodbye to this office. Quentin laughed, a jagged, ugly sound. He delivered one final, aggressive shove to her upper arm, forcing her shoulder against the cold porcelain, before storming out with Silas. Inside the restroom, the air was heavy with the scent of the blue chemicals and the silence of a predator about to strike. Beatrix stood up from the wet tiles, her deep navy tracksuit stained but her dignity untouchable. She didn't look at the white porcelain toilet. She looked at the pinhole camera in her cap. Action, she whispered. Outside in the bullpen, Quentin was basking in his perceived victory. He paced the floor, his bold red tie flapping as he mocked the janitor to anyone who would listen. That's the problem with this generation, he laughed to Silas. who was leaning against a yellow room divider. They think they're too good to get their hands dirty. I just gave her a lesson she'll never forget. Suddenly, every computer monitor on the 42nd floor flickered and died. A second later, they roared back to life, but the spreadsheets were gone. In their place was a bold, high-definition video feed of the restroom entrance. The entire office watched in a deathly silence as the footage played. Quentin's unmasked, snarling face appeared in a close-up shot as he violently grabbed Beatrix's collar and dragged her toward the toilet. The audio was deafening. Quentin's threats echoed through the high-end speakers of the North Wing. Tobias, in his white shirt, and Verity, in her yellow blouse, stood up, their eyes fixed on the screens. Quentin's face turned from a triumphant flush to a sickly, pale gray. "Silas, pull the plug. Kill the server now." Quentin screamed, lunging toward the main terminal and aggressively slamming his fist against the glass casing. But the screen wouldn't budge. A massive royal blue banner scrolled across the bottom of every monitor. Physical assault detected. Emergency liquidation protocol activated. The elevator chimes rang out, not once, but 4 times. The door slid open to reveal a phalanx of security in deep Navy uniforms and the company's chief legal officer. In the center of them stood Beatrix. She had discarded the tracksuit. She was now dressed in a tailored royal blue power suit that shimmered under the office lights. "The cleaning is finished, Quentin," Beatrix said, her voice amplified and icy. "But I found some trash that still needs to be removed." Quentin stumbled back, his hands trembling as he reached for his bold red tie. "I can explain. She was trespassing. She didn't have a badge." "I own the company that issued your badge, Quentin," Beatrix replied, stepping forward. "And as of 60 seconds ago, your badge is dead. Your accounts are frozen. Your power is gone." The public humiliation was total. Tobias and Verity led a crowd of employees, forming a corridor of justice. They held their phones inches from Quentin's face, recording his sweating, panicked expression for the entire company's Slack channel. "Quentin Vance and Silas Thorne," the legal officer announced, "you are being terminated for cause. No severance, no references, and we are filing criminal assault charges." Quentin, realizing his life was over, had one final burst of unmasked aggression. He lunged forward, trying to shove the lead security officer out of his way to reach the stairs. The response was instant. 2 guards firmly grabbed his arms, twisting him into a lock and forcing him to his knees on the carpet. Silas tried to crawl away, but the white and yellow crowd closed in, their phones flashing like 1,000 tiny suns. Security grabbed Silas by his bold red trim vest and forced him down next to his boss. "Dragged him out," Beatrix commanded. The security team physically dragged Quentin and Silas across the marble floor. They were pulled by their armpits, their feet scuffing against the tiles. They were dragged right past the restroom where the green bucket and yellow sponges still sat, the very tools they'd used to humiliate a woman they thought was less than. The guard hauled them into the lobby and threw them through the revolving doors. Quentin and Silas landed in a heap on the hot sidewalk. Their personal belongings, including Quentin's bold red spare blazers, were dumped into a green trash bin right in front of the lunch hour crowds. Beatrix stood at the glass window, her royal blue suit a beacon of the new order. She turned to the cheering staff. "The North Wing is under new management, and the first rule is we never look down on anyone. The justice debt was paid, the power was destroyed, and the empire was finally clean.